There's a quiet tension that lives in every thoughtful teacher. A tension between what research says should work and what actually does work. When the classroom door closes, the students walk in and real life takes over. If you ever read a research paper and thought, this sounds brilliant, but how do I make this work with my students? My timetable, my energy, my reality. This episode is for you. Teaching today means living in a paradox. On one hand, we are surrounded by more research than ever before. Journals, meta-analysis, white papers, neuroscience studies, AI-powered learning insights, an endless stream of evidence-based claims. On the other hand, most teachers are exhausted, underpaid, time poor, and emotionally stretched. The expectation is that we stay up to date, but no one tells us how to do that without burning out or turning into full-time academics. Let's say this clear and honestly. Teachers do not fail research. Research often fails teachers. Not because it's wrong, but because it's inaccessible, abstract, decontextualized, and disconnected from the lived reality of classrooms. And this is how we start this episode. As I always say, sit down comfortably, get yourself a coffee, and let's get started. Woo! Let's go! Most research is written for researchers, not for practitioners. Dense language, statistical obsession, context that look nothing like your school, your learners, or your constraints. So teachers either disengage completely or cherry-pick catchy conclusions without understanding the nuance. Both are understandable responses, and both are dangerous. Staying updated does not mean reading everything. It means learning how to filter, interpret, translate, and test research intelligently. The first mindset shift is this. You are not a consumer of research. You are a co-interpreter of it. Research does not hand you answers. It offers probabilities. It tells you what tends to work. Under certain conditions, of course, for certain learners as well, in certain context. Your job is not to apply it blindly, but to negotiate with it. Think of research as a compass, not as a GPS. A compass gives directions, not step-by-step instructions. It tells you where north is, but you still have to navigate the terrain yourself. And your terrain includes class size, culture, institutional pressure, parental expectations, students' motivation, emotional safety, and your own well-being. One of the biggest myths in education is that good teaching is about constant innovation. New methods, new acronyms, new frameworks. In reality, good teaching is about informed consistency, knowing why you do what you do, and being able to justify it beyond. That's how I was taught. Staying updated is not about chasing trends. It's about developing research literacy. Research literacy means you can ask intelligent questions when you encounter a new claim. Who was studied? In what context? For how long? Compared to what? And most importantly, does this resemble my learners in any meaningful way? If a study was conducted with highly motivated adult learners in controlled environments, don't assume it will magically work with tired teenagers at 8 a.m. If a paper shows statistical significance but ignores emotional variables, motivation, or identity, be cautious. Learning is after all, human before it is cognitive. Another uncomfortable truth: not all research deserves equal attention. Some studies are groundbreaking, others are redundant. Some are driven by funding trends, not pedagogical necessity. Teachers need permission to be selective and critical without being labeled anti-research. And you're not anti-science because you question applicability. You're a professional. One of the most powerful strategies for staying updated without overload is secondary interpretation. Follow educators who translate research into classroom language. Not gurus, not influencers selling miracle methods, but thoughtful practitioners who test ideas, fail publicly, reflect honestly, and revise their approach. Research becomes meaningful when it passes through practice, and practice becomes stronger when it dialogues with research. Another underused tool is micro-reading. You don't need to read full papers weekly. Abstracts, discussion sections, and systematic reviews often provide enough insight to spark reflection. Pair that with one simple classroom question: what small adjustment could I test next week? Notice the word small, right? Research-informed teaching is not about massive overhauls. It's about incremental refinement. One tweak to feedback, one change in task sequencing, one adjustment in wait time. Small changes, consistently evaluated, create real impact. And evaluation doesn't require spreadsheets and statistics. It requires awareness, observation, student response, engagement, confidence, retention, transfer. Your classroom is a living lab, but it's not a laboratory. We don't behave like variables. Let's also talk about institutional pressure. Many schools demand evidence-based practice without providing time, access, or support. This creates performative compliance. Teachers using research language without genuine integration. That helps no one. Fact. True research to practice work requires communities, not individuals. And this is where professional learning networks matter. Conversations, shared readings, collective reflection. Teaching was never meant to be done alone. And staying updated is impossible in isolation. Finally, let's address the emotional layer. Many educators, teachers avoid research because it makes them feel inadequate, like they're behind, like they're not doing enough. That guilt is toxic and unnecessary. You don't need to know everything. You need to stay curious, reflective, and honest. That's all. Curious enough to ask why. Reflective enough to adjust. Honest enough to admit when something doesn't work. That is professionalism. Bridging research and practice is not about perfection. It's about dialogue between theory and reality, data and intuition, evidence and empathy. And when you get that balance right, teaching stops being reactive and starts becoming intentional. Until next time, keep questioning, keep reflecting, and keep turning knowledge into meaningful practice.